This is Lab 6, Activity 2.2, the internal resistance of a battery. In our case, we're going to be using internal resistance of two batteries in series, just so that we can see some of these lights go on. But the principle is the same. We're pretending that these two in series are a single battery. And these are the same batteries that we've been using throughout. If I had used fresher batteries in that previous activity, Activity 2.1, you would have seen less of a change in the voltage as the switches were thrown. I've added an extra bulb. Here are our original two bulbs, and I've put a third one over here, and I've added a switch. So this is a terrible mess of wires. I've done the same thing in the last case where instead of having a single wire run, I'm running two just to make the wires act as if they were thicker and have more ideal wires, less resistance in them. And these wires then on this side of each bulb, they're kind of either red or white on the top end of the bulb. On the bottom end of the bulb, they're all kind of black. They're all black. And I've disconnected the battery so that none of them are on. So you could imagine that this negative terminal of my battery pack is connected directly to one side of my light bulbs and to one of the clips, and that's either going to the base, the tip of it, or to the middle of it. I think in this case it looks like for all of them, yeah, it's going to the tip of the light bulb for each case. Whereas here, these red ones, they're going through a current sensor, and red and white ones, they're all going to that clip of the light bulb that goes to the middle of the light bulb. And each end, the middle and the tip of them, go to one side of the filament. And I've got a switch that right now, these should both be open. And so that if I connect these two right here, I'd expect to see just this first bulb to go on. Sure enough, just the first bulb goes on. But before I take any measurements, I've got a current sensor now. We'll be measuring how much current is circulating in our circuit as we close one switch, as we close a second switch. How is the current going to change? How is the voltage going to change? And we're going to measure the voltage across this battery pack, this combination, and we're going to measure the current that's circulating in this circuit as we add more parallel branches to it. In order to get accurate data, though, we want to make sure our equipment is reading properly. And right now, if I look at the top left, it's reading within a couple of hundredths of zero voltage. And the current, with it's not connected at all, it's not bad. It's actually reading about within 1,000th of an amp of zero. But we can go ahead and zero using the little button next to the green arrow. I'm going to zero both of these as long as I know there's no current through the sensor, and I know that these two clips of my voltage sensor are connected, so there should be no difference, no voltage between them. So I'm going to hit 0, and it takes a couple of seconds, and now the voltage sensor is within 1,000th of 0, and the current sensor is within a 10,000th of an amp of 0. I've connected the voltage sensor. Our probes are 0, the light's on. I'm going to hit collect. I've got 10 seconds to collect all my data. And so now I'm going to close the first switch. And now I'm going to close the second switch. And oh my, that's kind of interesting. So I was expecting all of these to be kind of equally bright, but it doesn't look like there's even enough current for that one to light. I think, though, that there is some current. So my feeling is that with all these connections, that if we had really thick wires, great switches, it would be just like our classroom, where I turn on one light, when I turn on the next row of lights, equally bright. I turn on the last row of lights, and all the lights in our classroom are equally bright. But our classroom has thicker wires, more metal, better connections than we've got. So this, though, doesn't mean that our data is bad. We still have data, and I'll provide this data file to you, and you'll have a chance to analyze this data. So please do that now before going on to extension 2.3.